Hello, this new episode will be really special because we have a great guest. Tonight, we're going to be talking with one of the most important producers in indie rock, Gordon Raphael. Hello, Gordon.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good to
How
be
are
here.
you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Really
Well,
good.
we are very
Really
excited. Yeah, about having you here. I want to say that this is our first episode in English too. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I'm honored. Thank you.
It's an honor for us. Thank you.
Hopefully it goes well. I'm sure it will.
It will.
Gordon, where are you now? What are you doing
I'm in
at
the
this
north
moment?
I'm in the north of England in an area called West Yorkshire.
Your
You
tribe.
have your studio right there? Or?
I have a couple studios in my house, and I have lots of studios that I use. Some are in London, and some are up here in Leeds, UK.
You still have the Transporter Realm one?
No, I don't. I got evicted in 2001 while we were making the Strokes album.
But the one you had in London.
I had a London Transporter
Yeah,
Realm too, and now it turned into a great studio called Urchin Studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not longer yours then?
No, because I don't record in London very often.
Okay. So, Gordon, the first thing we wanted to ask you about, because probably most of the people know you for your work at early notice with the Strokes and with Regina Spektor and the Libertines. But I wanted to ask you about your beginnings in music, like in your time living in Seattle and the end of the 80s, the beginning of the 90s. What was that like? How did the music scene was at that time, and what made you want to dedicate your life to be a musician and an artist?
Well, it goes back further than that because when I was 8 years old, I played piano. And when I was 13, I joined my first rock and roll band playing keyboards. And once I got on stage and played music in front of people playing rock music, I just thought this is the greatest thing I could do. And I'm doing the same thing since I was 13. You know, I'm listening to rock music all day and I'm working on projects and I'm working on my own music and now I'm a producer. So,
Great.
yeah, in Seattle in the late 70s and early 80s, there were some amazing, interesting bands. Unusual. Like later in the end of the 80s, we had the grunge movement with Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and Nirvana and Mudhoney. But before that, 10 years before that, there was an incredible group of musicians. I have on my Gordotronic website one page where I have links to all the early Seattle bands in case anybody's interested in it. And yeah, being around those creative musicians in the early 80s and the late 70s, there was so much imagination and so much originality and so much power that it really set me on my course to starting my own bands and singing and writing my own music and believing in that. So that was the beginning of really the full energy.
There was someone or something or some band that specifically started that spark in you, like
As I said, there's a web page on my Gordotronic site with all the bands. One band asked me to play on their record in the studio, play synthesizers, and I never was hired as a musician before by someone else. And that was a real turning point where they picked me up in a car and took me to a big studio and let me play synthesizers. That was cool. They were called Chinas Comidas, which means Chinese food in Spanish.
Food. Yeah.
And another band that was really influential was called the Telepaths. And they had wild shows and their music was really crazy and cool. And it just made me think, I got to try really hard because they're so good. I want to try to be that good too.
So the keyboard and synthesizers were your first instrument that you learned to play?
Definitely.
Oh,
I started with
okay.
piano, then I got Hammond organ, and then I got synthesizers. And then I always wanted to play guitar, but everybody who had guitar, when I picked it up and played it, they said, no, put that down, put that down. But finally, I got alone with the guitar and I taught myself how to play guitar. And then I started singing and I can play bass. So I was learning
Okay.
all that
Okay.
stuff. All
That's
that stuff.
interesting.
Yeah.
Is
Do you
there
have?
like a
Yeah. No,
no,
I wanted to ask you if you have any favorite piece of synthesizer.
Of course I do. Of course I do. The ARP Odyssey is
Oh,
was,
I
was
know
my
it.
first was the first synthesizer I owned, and it's still my favorite one because it can do an infinite amount of sounds.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no
You can
limit
go
to
really crazy on it.
you can go crazy on it because it has a sample hold network and a ring
Uh-huh.
modulator. So you can make that thing do outer space noises for days.
Yeah, yeah. It's very funny. And you still keeping it?
Yeah, I've had three or four before, but now I only have one.
Okay, okay.
just for context, in our musical duo, Chromatica, I'm the one doing like the lyrics and that kind of stuff, and Chris is the one with the synthesizers and the
Yeah,
and
I'm the
producing and
synth
mixing and
guys.
mastering. So
Cool.
so so he will be more interested in the gear part.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
That's
the
fine.
gear lover dude.
I can do both.
That's
That's great.
nice. That's great.
Do you have like a favorite instrument to write music?
I have a number of favorite instruments: a drum machine, a page of poetry that I write, a piano, a synthesizer, electric guitar with lots of distortion and echo, and anything else. I think those are my main ones that I write from. Almost all my songs were written from one of those things.
It's great.
Okay. Do you use any VST instrument or just you use only analog stuff?
I don't know. There's so many great even the ARP Odyssey, there's one by GeForce called Oddity that does almost everything that my ARP Odyssey does.
Okay.
Especially if I'm traveling, which I do a lot. You know, I can't bring all my synthesizers. So there's Arturia Mini Moog Model D plugin. Man, that thing will blow
Yeah.
your mind. It will like make bass for days, just like a real
Yeah.
one. And
Yeah.
I love, I don't know, different kinds of Mellotron samples. I don't really like Mtron very much, unfortunately, but I have lots of samples of Mellotrons that I like. And I like anything like a Fender Rhodes or Wurlitzer plugins are usually really good. And what else? I don't know. I think those are the most ones I use all the time.
That's great. That's great to know.
Gordon, just to keep like the conversation like in this order we arranged because we have like gear and stuff and BST questions later, but for time, I just wanted to ask you about when you moved to New York City after living in Seattle. How do you find the music scene in New York City? What
Um,
was
the big
what
deal,
did you see?
I saw drum and bass and jungle, and I saw DJs playing acid jazz, and that's basically it. And
Oh,
there was some art rock in small venues, but the big thing everybody was talking about was jungle.
okay.
So we wanted to ask how it compared to the Seattle music scene, but
Well, it was like Seattle music scene in 1989, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94 was like heaven on earth. Everybody that had an electric guitar got a record deal and got money from record company. And there was 12 clubs open every day and you could play and you could see shows and Bootsy Collins was always coming through and it was like heaven, okay? Rock and roll heaven. And then going to New York, it was like we don't really like rock and roll. We just like DJs and gold chains and quiet loungy music and drum and bass stuff. Like that's cool. So it was a real disappointment moving to New York right when I did.
It was difficult for you to find your place in New York?
In a way, yeah. I mean, I went with my band Absinthe, and we were thinking, yeah, we're gonna kick ass in New York, and we were playing like small shows on a Tuesday in front of nobody, and it was really hard.
Oh,
And luckily, I had a studio, and I was recording people, and so that was going good. That didn't take long. People, because I had already had I don't know, 2 decades, a decade, I don't know, a long time of recording experience. So when people heard what I could do, they liked it and they told their friends about it. And pretty soon I wasn't being a rock star anymore, but I was a producer and everybody was coming to me to be recorded. So that was
Mhm.
cool. I liked that. That
Nice.
was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at that point that you met the Strokes, right?
A little later than that. Yeah.
And you guys made a deal for a 3-song EP, right? Or a
Right.
3-song demo
Yeah. Demo.
recording? Yeah, yeah.
Demo recording called The Modern Age.
And that became the Modern Age EP.
That's right.
And after that, that started like a Strokes hype in the UK.
Yeah, big Strokes hype. Incredible.
Because
They loved that EP and they wanted to see the band play live and the Strokes went over and toured.
yeah, and after that you started working on the Is This It album.
Yes.
So um when you guys were making that album, because I think probably a lot of people know how that came out, like it was like a huge success,
Yes.
right? And it kind of changed the landscape of music, or in New York City probably. But I wanted to ask you if you guys, when you were making the album, did you feel like something different was like coming through?
When I made the EP with the band, the demos, I thought, oh, this is really cool. I like it. But I didn't think the world was going to like it. I didn't think New York was going to like it. They weren't really fans of rock and roll in the US right then. And so then all of a sudden the EP exploded in England and there was like press and people
Wow.
writing about it. So by the time we made the album, we had the feeling that the whole world was waiting for it, which I never had that feeling before. I always had the feeling of going quietly in the studio and working on something and who knows what's going to happen. But this was like, they're already writing about this band that doesn't even have an album out. This is going to be great. Let's do our best. It was very
Okay.
exciting. Yeah.
So this work had his first success in the UK and then in the US, right?
Well, the EP went out in the UK, not in the
Ah,
US.
okay. Oh, all right.
Okay. It was signed by Rough Trade and they did a tour of UK. They did not do a tour of US.
Okay, okay.
After the
Got it.
UK tour, they did a tour with an English band called the Doves. They did tour in the US, but it was because of the excitement in the UK that New York labels like RCA, who signed them, learned about the band and got involved.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When the album came out, I had that album in a vinyl,
Yeah.
and you are in the booklet
Yes.
with the picture. It's
Yeah.
also it's the band, the manager Ryan,
And the Guru.
and the guru, and you. How did you feel? Because as Chris said, this was like a really big success.
Yes.
How do you feel when something that you've been working on, it's out on the world and everybody is like, is this it? Yeah, it
Well, there's two things. First of all, the day they told me, oh, there's a photographer coming to take pictures of the band for the album cover, I said, cool. And they said, they want your picture on it too. I said, what? Me on their album? No producer has their picture on the album, and they put my picture up there. And so when the record exploded, then everybody knew who I was. Like my face was recognized in England and in New York and other places because people looked at the album, right? So that was one thing that was crazy and good. And then I don't know, there's nothing like the feeling of this kind of success, like going out in the world and everybody loving it and it doing really well and my name's on it and it's something I was working on. It was a really beautiful feeling.
that
Nice.
that was probably too, because maybe the band, we were talking yesterday with Chris, and maybe the band thought that you were really important to capture whatever they were going for,
Yeah,
like the feeling in the music, that kind of retro vibe, but kind of futuristic. I don't know.
yeah, I think you're right.
And
And yeah,
and
go Chris.
talking about the success of the album,
Yes.
Do you feel that something changed in you? I mean, in the way that you approach your art at that time, did you feel pressure of having to make something as good again?
No, I felt like, oh, finally, people are going to listen to my ideas and I'm going to get a chance to talk to new people. I'm going to get a chance to travel. I'm going to get a chance to work in other countries. It was like
Great.
a door opening with opportunities, and I was very excited about it. It did never cause me any stress or
Oh,
worry
that's
at all, you
oh
know.
wow. It's
Yeah.
very nice. It's That's a good way to approach the success because for me it's like more, I don't know, it's stressful, you know. I mean, we are a small band, right? But we actually had a lot of expectations with our first EP that we did. So yeah, I wanted to know your opinion on that matter.
Now, the people in the band The Strokes, those musicians, they probably interpret it as pressure, not just party. Like me, I was like, whoa, party, let's go. And they're
Yeah,
like, oh,
you were only having fun.
yeah, I was like having fun, but I think they were like, did we do a good enough job? And what are we going to do next time?
Hmm.
And when the second album came around, Room on Fire, they were probably thinking, "Oh, I'm not sure if it's as good as the first one. Are people going to I think they had more pressure than me.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think that maybe it's funny because at that time people thought that Room on Fire was a bit too much like Is This It, but now probably fans love it more than Is This It because it's like a Is This It with some cooler songs.
Yeah,
It's pretty funny to see things in retrospective. And
absolutely.
I also have a nerdy Strokes question that it wasn't in the list we made, but I wanted to ask you because today I was listening to some music and this B-side from the Room on Fire times. I think it was the Reptilia
Yes,
B-side, the Modern Girls and Old-Fashioned Men with
sure.
Regina Spektor.
Yeah,
How do you produce that song? How
yeah.
that came about? Did you
It was
introduce them?
crazy and it was a surprise to me. I had a plan. I made a plan that while the Strokes were touring for Room on Fire, I was going to take them to a studio in Seattle in a farm, okay, called Bear Creek Studio. And I wanted them to fall in love with Bear Creek Studio so that they would record their next album there with me. And so I got 2 days of studio time from the studio. I said, the Strokes are going to come. And when the Strokes showed up, Regina was with them, and I thought, "Oh, that's nice. They brought Regina. Why did they bring Regina? Because they were touring with her.
Okay.
She was playing before the Room on Fire concerts.
Hmm.
It was Regina, Kings of Leon, and the Strokes. That was the tour.
A really good show.
So when I see Regina and the Strokes, I say, "What are you doing here, Regina?" She said, "We wrote a duet, Julian and I, and we're going to record it today." I go, "Oh my God, a duet from the Strokes? I do not expect that. I
Wow.
never even thought it was possible." So that's the scene.
Because I thought that it was you maybe because you did
No, it was me that introduced the Strokes to Regina.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
I did that, but I didn't come up with the idea to record them both.
They played that song in New York City in 2023
Yes,
in and I was at that show, so it's
In Brooklyn.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
it was really special
Good.
to hear that song with the two original voices.
Yes.
And guys,
um
talking about Regina, I wanted to ask you, Gordon, how do you go from producing music for bands like The Strokes, for example, to do your own material? Do you approach it in a different way?
Yes, I definitely approach it in a different way because when I produce my own material, I have no limits. My imagination, I can do anything I want and nobody can tell me anything. I do it all myself, mostly myself.
Like you got
So
no limitations, right?
I just do whatever I want to do. I mean, I just say, I'm going to do this. Okay, that sounds great. Now I'm going to do this on top of it. Okay, now I'm going to sing these words. I'm going to make these. It's all about me. When I
Yeah.
produce a band, it's not all about me because when I was a musician and young, I wanted the producer to pay attention to me. I have ideas. I want my
Right.
ideas to be recorded. So when I'm a producer, I have utmost respect for the ideas of the musicians I work with. I mostly work with very intelligent, very creative people. I know they're full of ideas, so I am more like a servant or a knight in armor. If you want to do this idea, let me help you do that idea. I will do everything I can to make you hear your idea. So I'm very much focused on other people when I produce, but when I record myself, I'm only concentrating on my imagination and my joy.
That's
And
totally makes sense.
in the case of the Strokes, it was also like interpretation kind of work
It was
too.
interpretation of five people and maybe six, including the guru. Everybody wanted something, and I had to listen to their idea and try to show them. You want it brighter? Okay. You want it louder? Here. You want it what? Like worn out like blue jeans? Okay, like that. They said many things, and my job was to interpret and show them the idea.
That's
Nice.
so great.
Yeah. And do you include some personal idea or some creative touch to the song? Do you have room to make those changes?
If they say an idea, I try to imagine the best sounding way to
Okay.
capture
Okay.
maximum impact and make it beautiful and make them love it. I don't want to show them their idea in a way that makes them afraid of their idea. Immediately, I become very creative, and I also become a little bit of a know-it-all. Like I know what microphone and how to tune it and where to put it and how to run it through and how much distortion or clean, how much bass, how much I know all these things.
Nice.
So I am being creative, but I'm being creative in the service to their idea.
Okay. Okay. You
Yeah.
use your knowledge to guide the process from
Right.
what they are imagining, like they are, how can I say it in English? Like,
What they are imagining.
yeah, probably.
Yeah. But I also will say that with a band like the Strokes, where they have such a vision of their own, I did not say, sing a harmony here, put a timbre. I did not even say any words like that.
Oh, okay.
However, when I work with some bands that are more fluid and more open to suggestions, then I might say, how about if I play a synthesizer solo right before your second verse? And they go, okay, show us what that sounds like. And I go like, and they, oh, that's cool. So I do put some of my own ideas into some people's music if I think that they will like it and if I think they want it.
Okay. This
Yeah.
this could probably be a hard question to answer, but I would like to know if you have ever worked with a band that is not so open to ideas or these kind of things that we're talking.
I would say that the Strokes definitely weren't, they didn't want ideas. They just wanted their ideas to be heard and done correctly. I would never make an idea like, hey, why don't we play that drum differently? Or why don't we make it short? That would be so stupid, because they're very much in control, you know.
Okay.
When you guys did Is the Seed and Room on Fire, they already had the songs written, right? Like the
Not
demos.
only the songs, every hi-hat note, every solo note, every tone of the guitar, everything was completely rehearsed like military.
Okay.
So they just wanted to record and that it sounds the best it could.
They wanted to play it over and over and over. If there was even one little slowdown or one little wrong note or one wrong tone, they had to do it again. They were like working and working and working to show the idea with no mistakes.
That's
Okay.
really interesting because normally people will think that the Strokes sound is like really I don't know, like nostalgic in some ways. People tend to think that they were like sluts or they were like, yeah, let's play this and goodbye.
Everybody wants to think that they played the song 2 times and went to the party across the street while I was fixing things, but that was not the case. They basically sweated blood and concentrated every moment of they were there all the time, all of them working on each part to be perfect.
That's so great.
Wow, that
Uh,
surprised me a lot.
Gordon, when have you ever worked with some band that haven't played live?
Probably, probably, yeah,
Like
yeah,
they are just doing their music like in the studio?
yeah, sure,
And
absolutely.
how, how
I even helped a friend of mine in New York at the same studio transport around where I recorded the Strokes. Like my good friend, he said, "How do I make a band?" And I said, "You put ads here," and because great. And then he came and said, "Can you record our? I made the band. Now can you record our music?" Sure, come in the studio. So I've been there. It's no problem.
That's
that
cool. This is gonna be a good one. Which of the production that you have worked on would you consider that like your personal favorite?
No, I can't do it. There's a
I
hundred.
knew it.
There's
I
a
knew it.
hundred. I'll tell you two good ones that nobody
Yeah,
knows.
yeah. At least three. Give me three, and I'll be happy.
Three.
Yeah.
The Satellites, which is a band
Okay.
from Mallorca, and the album you can find it on Spotify. It's called
All right.
Our Very Bright Darkness. Okay?
Okay.
That's the album I made right before I met the Strokes, okay? So go find the Satellites,
For sure.
Our Very Bright Darkness. That's one of my best albums I'm most proud of.
That's nice.
Secondly, there's a band from London called Kill Canada, and I did an album with them called the Pink Album. It's very hard to find. You can find it on YouTube.
The Pink album.
Album by Kill Canada, which is
Okay.
K-E.
All right. And the third one?
My album, I Lick the Moog. That album
Nice.
is so good, and I did it at the Transporter Realm Studio too in New York. And it's one of my favorite albums I ever made, and I want everybody to hear it. I Lick the Moog.
Great. That's nice because I have a question about which one of your personal works it was your favorite. So you already answered that question. Thank you.
Great.
Gordon, when you work a lot, how many productions have you, or how many songs have you recorded, do you think? Like
I
a
just,
thousand?
I'm just going to tell you one thing. I went to New York in October and a little bit of
Yeah.
November of this year, like last year, October 2024.
24.
Right. And I recorded 27 bands, and the bands did anywhere between 3 and 9 songs in one day each
One
time.
day.
So
Wow.
I would
Wow,
say
that's a lot.
in the month of October 2024, I recorded 100 songs with 27 bands. Okay. And that's just 1 month.
Just one.
That's
So
crazy.
I've been
Yeah.
producing for 25 years or something. You can imagine how many songs I have recorded.
I really want to know how do you do it because I mean for making just one song we actually took like how much like 1 month or more even it was
Yeah.
so that's a lot.
Sometimes I take a year mixing some of my songs, it just depends.
Yeah.
But as a producer, I can work very fast.
When
Yeah.
you approach your own stuff, your personal work, it's
Yeah.
more hard, it's more difficult, right?
It's
To
only difficult because I have some songs have very intense orchestration, like,
mm,
maybe 50 tracks of harmonies from the vocals, but only come in on one note, and then there's no more of that harmony, and then later there's another, like, crazy orchestration with
okay,
synthesizers and vocals, so that is
okay.
hard to record, and it's hard to mix and takes a long time. But
Hmm.
some songs I do with just a drum machine and a bass guitar and a guitar and a voice, and that it's very simple. I can finish the song in 2 hours and be
Okay.
done, mixed, and put it on the internet.
All right. And when you do these kind of more difficult songs, how do you know when it's enough? how do you know when to stop? Because for me, it's really hard. I can take a lot of time mixing or finding ideas. So I can't really find the way to stop my production. It's very hard for me.
Well, I'm
Deadlines.
pretty picky, but I get to this point where, like, if I listen to something I'm making, I go, oh, the harmony is too loud. Oh, it needs a synthesizer there. Oh, the bass is too loud. And then eventually at some point, I don't have any more criticism. I listen to the whole song and I go, yeah, I don't have any problems with that. It sounds great. It's finished.
Do do you like working with deadlines
With what?
or with deadlines? Deadlines like
Deadline.
yeah, yeah,
A
a
limit
date
of
to
time.
finish the.
Uh,
I don't really work with deadlines. Like if a band tells me, "Well, here's our songs," I listen to their songs and I go, "We want to record 3 songs." And I say, "Can you play all together at the same time?" Yeah. And then how much stuff are you going to add? Oh, just a guitar solo and some vocals and harmony. Okay. And how many takes do you think it'll take before you're happy with your performance? They say maybe 6. So I think, okay, 6 takes, 3 songs, only guitar and solo. We can do that in one day. I know exactly how long it's going to take. And I never get to the end of the day and go, sorry, guys, we can't finish the 3rd song. I never do that. And I never get to the point where well, we're all done and we still have 2 hours to go with nothing to do. It's like I just know exactly how long it takes. And it's funny. It's almost like a weird intuition or something, but I'm always, oh yeah, I said we record for 2 days. And at the end of 2 days, I'm bouncing the mixes and putting it on hard drives, and I'll touch up the mix at home, but the work is done.
It's the experience.
Yeah, it's experience and also being able to work very fast and not, and just let people play and
yeah.
not take a lot of their, like, for example, always have the studio set up before the band comes. Perfect. Like all their equipment, everything, so that when the first day that they have to spend and they're paying for it, why should they sit around for 4 hours to get the drum sound? That
Yeah.
is just killer. Nobody wants that. I didn't want
Yeah.
that when I was a kid.
I mean, bands just want to play the
Yeah,
song
yeah,
and hear the song.
right. If they have to wait 4 hours to get the drums, they're gonna start drinking beer and smoking pot, and they're not gonna be in any shape to
Yeah.
record.
They will surely get drunk.
Hmm.
Gordon, another question about this topic. Do you ever, when you're working on your stuff or mainly on your stuff, do you ever get blocked
That's an
like an
interesting.
artist block?
Not really, not when I'm working on my stuff. Right now, I haven't made any new music in a number of years. And I think it's because I made 18 albums so far and I haven't really put them out in the world and promoted them the way I want to. So I'm working more on promoting my music and making sure that the songs I already made are going out. But all the time I was making my music, there was a magic flow, just from working for so many years. It just felt really connected to synthesizers and keyboards and singing and writing words.
It's nice. And would you suggest any tip or advice to people that go through this kind of artist blocks?
Yeah, take a break, go for a walk, go for an art museum, go with a friend and have coffee, go see lots of really, really cool movies, take a week, go to some parties, have some fun, travel, do stuff so that you get inspired.
That's nice. That's nice because we have talked to a lot of people, and the artist block, it's a thing that a lot of people came through. It's nice to know, like, how can I say that, Ignacio?
To have another perspective
Yeah,
about it?
your own perspective to artist block. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Gordon, in 2022, you released a memoir.
Yes, a book. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you find that experience? Like the
Um,
writing and the publishing?
it was great because suddenly it was the pandemic and I didn't have anything to do and I couldn't go to
Oh,
the studio and I was about to go crazy, literally crazy. And I thought, oh, why don't I write that book that I always wanted to write, but I never sit down. So I had to sit down, and writing the book was very fun. And it came out very quickly, a couple months, I think I wrote it. And then it took me about a year to edit it. That was
Oh, wow.
hard. But then when it was published and I had book release parties in London and New York and Los Angeles and Berlin and talking to people about the book and telling stories and selling copies of the book, a very, very joy, great happiness.
And how does it compare to making music, for example? Because
Do you prefer it over music, or it's just
No,
another
I like
experience?
I like writing. I do like writing, but it's very different than music.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
very different than music. But in some ways it's not, with the editing and like looking at what you've done and making it better. In some ways it's a lot like music, but music you can just like kind of crank up a guitar and hit some distorted chords and like what's that like in writing? It'd be like I don't know, catharsis or something.
Totally.
ripping a page of the book and
Yeah,
or throw your laptop to.
burning a page.
We were going to ask you about the that time in 2024 you record the bands in New York City, but we wanted to ask you how seeing those bands record those songs with them. How do you think the industry and the music scene compares to early noughties and the early 90s in Seattle?
I think there's a giant explosion of rock and roll and rock bands happening in New York right now. There's more bands in New York than I ever saw in the noughties, and there's more bands in New York than I ever saw in Seattle even. There's so
Mm.
many bands, okay? I don't know. I've been there 3 times in the last year and a half and recorded anywhere between 10 and 27 bands each time. And then I met more bands and more bands. Even when I said on Instagram, does anybody want to work with me from New York? 60 bands wrote me in a couple of days. 60 bands said, we want to work with you. We want to work with you,
Wow.
in a couple days. Now, the media and the scene and the support is awful. There's no news
Snow there.
There's no news at all about any of these bands, and they're amazing. There's so many good ones. Whereas in Seattle, if you had long hair and electric guitar, you were like touring and you were a record deal and you were on NME and you were at nighttime TV shows. Now it's like there's 300 or 400 bands in New York City and nobody knows except for me and and the kids in New York. You know, there's
Uh,
no mention about it.
I guess the industry has like shift his focus to, I don't know, rap, hip hop.
They have shifted their focus to popularity.
Yeah.
Whatever
Popularity,
makes.
popularity is the new drug, and in the old days, music was the new drug.
And talking about
That's
that,
true.
do you think that we are living in a dangerous time to make music, or do you think that it's a nice time to make music?
I think we're living in a dangerous time to be alive. Oh my God, especially in America. Oh my God, and everywhere. Everybody's so angry and everybody's so violent, and it's like is everyone's insane. Like not
Yeah, you're
everybody.
right.
I mean, there's so much insanity and violence, and there's so much oppression, and this is a crazy time to be alive. And so, yeah, it's a crazy time to make music. It's a crazy time to go shopping for food at the shop. It's a crazy time to go to the library or ride the bus or the
Right.
subway or go to a show or walk in your town. These are crazy times, my friend. And I'm glad
Yeah,
we're
crazy
talking
times
about
for so many aspects of the life in
it. Yeah.
general.
And so many places, so many places. Argentina, whoa. Venezuela, whoa.
Yeah,
Brazil, oh my
yeah.
God.
In
Uh,
fact,
you
yeah,
know,
in Chile is pretty much the same, I think.
London, oh my God. Like just little kids, boys just being stabbed all the time. Like
Well,
it's insane, you know? Yeah.
In terms of music and in this current era, what do you think of AI?
I don't think about AI very much.
not
You know,
you don't think that it will have like a weird impact on music?
I think no more than algorithms or billionaires or stockholders or accountants or record label president. It's all weird, you know. What's important to me about music is how somebody's expressing these experiences that they go through and how intensely they touch me about sharing those lived experiences. You know, AI doesn't figure into the equation for me. There's no reason. I'd rather see somebody hitting two stones together and screaming and wearing a purple costume. Now, that would be interesting to me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
some algorithm generating music for the sake of it or for money or, you know, for the experiment. I don't think about it.
That's a good
I
answer.
I think it might push the artist to be more creative. Like if the AI makes like a typical pop music
Yeah.
super easily, it
Yeah.
maybe like will push the artist to do something different.
I mean, I watched some report on TikTok or Instagram where the guy was saying that one of the big record companies like Warner Brothers has cloned the voices of 100 years of the greatest singers from Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, Jimi Hendrix,
Hmm.
John Lennon,
Hmm.
all their. So they want you to download the artist, you know, and have Jimi Hendrix sing your song instead of you sing your song because that'll make you more popular when Jimi Hendrix sings your song. But the the person that owns the right to Jimi Hendrix's voice is the one who makes the money from it.
Yeah,
So there's a
that's
lot of
crazy.
strange ideas floating around, or AI artists or AI people on Instagram that aren't real who are talking and like putting pictures of their life, all AI generated, like strange times, more
Yeah.
strange flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about, because I know that you paint as well, right?
True. Yes.
That's nice. I want to tell you that I'm a digital painter and I also do oil painting, so I really like your art. It's very nice. Uh,
Did you see my Instagram Gordotronic art box head?
I haven't, but I will surely do.
There's a like I don't
But
know.
I watched some videos and that you actually showed your art, and I was thinking like this kind of art is I really like it.
Thank you very much. I've always wondered what to do with my artwork. I have it all up in drawers upstairs and it's like I want to do something with it. I should do more.
Yeah, for sure. It's very creative, and the colors, it's very expressive. I don't know how to say it, but it's very nice.
Thank you
So
very much. I appreciate it.
you're welcome. Talking about that, because the AI have impacted the images as well, the artists,
Yes.
people that paint have been impacted for the AI too.
Yes.
I think that your opinion is the same for that kind of thing, that
Well,
for the
actually,
music.
I work with a really great artist right now. Her name is Junkyard Tornado.
Okay.
And she makes AI artwork for her singles.
Wow.
They
Wow.
are fantastic because she's an artist and she's using AI to tell her story. So it's not
Okay.
just generated for nothing. It's absolutely brilliant. Uh,
Okay.
she has a new song out right now called Combustible Culture.
Oh, I
And
heard that.
just incredible artwork. All of her art on her singles. You can go to Junkyard Tornado on Spotify and see all her record covers. They're masterpieces.
Wow. Wow. It's great.
Yeah, we were talking with Chris about this stuff, especially on like artwork for albums, like the use of AI in those. We think especially for up and coming artists, it's like fair maybe because of how the industry works right now, that you have to, or social media, you have to have stuff all day, all the weeks up. And if you don't have like a record deal or something, a lot of money behind you, you
Yeah,
need to use these tools. It's
right,
like because you won't be able to pay or make everything every day.
right, right.
And for your own personal work, would you use the AI
I
thing?
haven't I haven't looked into it at all.
Okay.
I'm
You
every time I use Google now, it says the AI, it's got the AI summary at the top instead of looking, like, huh, who played guitar on this album? And it's like AI answer, it tells you who did it. And so
yeah.
And
I see that.
and
But on
I
the other hand, when I make a video, I might go like, okay, I want to play my guitar, but I want to have stars going in front of me. I'll just put on YouTube, stars, and then find some video of some guy taking pictures of stars, movies of stars, and I'll just take my phone and just aim it at the screen and then dub it on top. I've been stealing images from YouTube. It's something
Yeah.
similar. It's very
Yes,
similar.
it's something
Nobody
similar.
knows. Nobody knows I took those stars. It just looks like a weird stripes going across my face.
You are your own AI.
Yeah,
You
my own stealer.
Yeah, you're on a stealer.
Gordon, this is a weird question, but it might be interesting. We are also approaching the end of the hour, so we're gonna have
Yeah.
to rush.
I hope
But
I hope I've covered what you wanted to talk about.
yeah.
Yeah, you
We have
did.
like three more questions.
Let's
But
do the
this
3 questions, please.
this
Thank
one
you.
is about music in Spanish. Do you listen to music in Spanish?
I don't generally listen to music in Spanish, but I have recorded bands in Mexico, in Peru, in Argentina, in Brazil. I know they speak Portuguese in Brazil. Anyway, I'm very comfortable recording music and working with Spanish speaking people. And, I love traveling in those countries, but I don't generally listen to Spanish language music very much.
Okay. And how do you think and how do you feel that the Spanish language sounds? It's weird in music in
No, it's
the
not. It's very beautiful in music, just like the French language is beautiful in music. Uh,
yeah, it's very sweet.
there's a YouTube video by Rocco Posca, and he's now a movie star because he was in a Netflix series, Society of the Snow. But
Okay.
but
I saw that.
I
Yeah, I
recorded his
watched that.
I recorded his album in Argentina, and there's a
Wow.
song called Fruta de la Corazón or something
Uh-huh.
like Fruta de la Corazón.
It's
And
like a heart
Fruto del
fruit,
corazón.
right?
something like
And
that. I don't know.
yeah, Rocco Posca, Fruta de el Corazón or something like that. And it is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever recorded. And I played synthesizer on it. And you can watch the video on YouTube. And if you want to hear some beautiful Spanish language rock music, sounds like Jimi Hendrix, spacey music with synthesizers on it.
Wow.
Check that out.
Sounds
Eh,
interesting.
I
It's
love that song.
el
I
fruto
didn't
del
know
corazón.
when okay.
El fruto de
Fruto,
tu corazón.
Yes,
frutos de tu corazón. Fruits from your heart, something
right.
like that.
Yeah.
Probably.
The
I
fruits from
didn't
your
know
heart.
that an actor from that movie was a musician. That's interesting.
Well, he was a musician since he was like signed on Sony from the time he was 16.
Oh
And
wow.
I worked with him when he was about 18 or something like that, and his bass player was 16. And yeah, so he was a musician before he was a famous actor.
Wow. Cool. Cool. That's a
Yeah,
good.
because we with Chris we always talk about how lyrics in English sound cooler for us
Yeah.
than lyrics in Spanish, but we never had like this conversation with some native
English
English
speaker.
speaker.
I don't know, maybe there's something about hearing like New York stories or Los Angeles Red Hot Chili Peppers or British Sex Pistols, hearing it in English, it's got an authentic feeling to it. I'm sure that's why people from your culture like to hear the English, like, oh, it sounds so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, listen to that. Listen to Julian singing and listen to Anthony Kiedis singing and listen to Johnny Rotten singing. Wow, they have it all. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
very special for you.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
special. In fact, when we do a song in Spanish, for us, it's very hard because we always ask ourselves like how we can make this Spanish song like feel good, feel cool, like when the English bands do. It's very hard for us.
Well, I hope you find a way. I hope you have found the way.
We are cracking it.
Good, good.
We are trying. We are trying.
I hear a lot of Spanish music because I work with so many Spanish-speaking bands, or I'm in touch on social media with so many people from Argentina and Mexico, and they send me stuff like, "Hey, have you heard this? Have you heard that?" So I do hear a lot of it, but mostly just young musicians making stuff now.
Great.
That's great.
That's great.
Gordon, another question is, and well, this is like one of the last ones. In which projects are you working right now? What is in the future for you?
Top secret.
I'm gonna work with a band from Paris called Chérie Chérie, and I'm gonna bring them to the north of England and record some songs with them. I just finished a band from my area in England here called Miserabilia. I'm mixing some great songs from I believe a Puerto Rican New Yorker, and his band is called Pink Clouds. Very cool music. I'm doing mixing on that right now. Also working with a rock and roll New Yorker, and I'm also finishing up all the mixes that I made from the bands I recorded in October.
Do you have like a date to release those sessions, the New York City sessions?
One of the bands already did release a great album. You got to hear it. It's called Hyper Cynical Peacemaker. Hyper Cynical Peacemaker. And if you want to hear some very cool music that I made in New York in October, he already released his album, and it's really cool. Like, it's nasty cool.
We will listen to it.
I mean, the title sounds cool. So
Hyper Cynical Peacemaker. Yeah, very cool.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And before finishing the interview,
I just went. I got a last one. There were rumors that you were working with Julian again.
Yeah.
Are those true or?
Julian asked me if I would record the Voids, and I said sure, I'd love to. And then I wrote to his manager and I said, "Hey, Julian wants me to record the Voids. When's that going to happen?" He goes, "I'll let you know." But then I didn't hear anything else about it. Even the Voids, after their concert, they came out and hugged me and said, "It's so great that we're working together." Even they thought I was going to work with them, but it's not happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. Well, they are coming to Europe, right?
I think they're coming to Paris and London.
Yeah, maybe that's the chance.
Yeah, maybe I should go down and bother them.
No, it would be cool. I mean, like having those, like that collaboration again, like 20 years later, it would be cool and weird.
I think so too.
Now, Chris, do your.
Oh yeah, I wanted to do the last question before letting you go. I consider myself an analog gear lover. Yeah. So my question is, do you have any favorite piece of gear?
Sure, I have lots of it. Okay, ready?
Yeah, I am.
Neve 1073 preamp.
Oh, wow.
Original one from the
original one, right? Because right now there are a lot of clones and stuff.
But there's also new Neve 1073s that are very good from the Neve company, so don't worry about
it. AMS, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
They're still great. Neve 1073. Okay. Avalon 737 SP. Also
preamp. Two preamp. It's like a channel strip, right?
Yeah, I have it right in front of me, right in front of my hand right now. It's a tube preamp, equalizer, and compressor.
A compressor.
And it's what I recorded everything from Julian in the Strokes albums, and it's just amazing. API preamps. Okay, so those, if I have those, I can make a record.
API, it's an solid state preamp?
Yeah, solid state
Am I right?
With power, pure power from the bass bottom to the treble high, even just perfect. You know, you can't go wrong. Electric guitars through it, bass, kick drum.
Everything sounds so great through that unit. They sound so nice.
Yes.
You know something here in a region that we call Viña del Mar, there is a nice company that makes Chilean clones from these pieces of gear, and they do nice pieces. I don't know if you have ever heard about them, but the name of the company is Stamp Audio.
Okay. Okay.
And they do very nice 1073 preamps.
Yeah.
I own one of them, and I
So cool.
recorded Ignacio through them.
Yeah. Yeah. They're really good.
And they sound good, yeah. Not as good as the original one,
Well,
but
what
yeah.
can you say? I'll tell you a couple more Neumann microphones.
Oh,
Like,
I got one. Yeah, I
yeah,
actually got one.
which one?
The U87 AI.
Yeah, I got one of those. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, the U67, which is
Uh-huh.
like $10,000, is great.
Those are so expensive.
Yeah, they're the Beatles microphones.
What about the
And
U?
yeah, sometimes I've worked with some U47s that are jaw-droppingly good.
Huh?
Definitely. What else do I like? Analog stuff. I don't know.
Some
That's
equalizer?
no, don't need
No?
it. Don't need it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just give me those preamps and those microphones. Sennheiser 420, cheap. Like, I don't know, it's not a very expensive mic. Everybody has them. The black razor-looking microphones, 421 Sennheiser. That thing's worth its weight in gold. Put that in front of a guitar amp, and that's all you
Nice.
need. Put it in a
Nice.
kick drum, put it on acoustic guitar, on a piano. It's such a great microphone.
Great. And what about compressors? Do you have
Um,
any compressor?
Yeah, I have the one inside the Avalon is brilliant. I have a distressor too, which I really
Distressor.
like. But if I'm in a studio that has a real LA2A,
Oh,
Teletronics
cool.
LA2A, then
Uh-huh.
that's my favorite. That's my favorite compressor of all time.
Great, great. I have a clone of that too in the
Yeah,
studio. Yeah,
cool.
and
I
it
love that
sounds
one.
really nice. Yeah.
Even the Universal Audio,
We should be called the clones.
emulation of the LA2A is perfect.
It's
It's
perfect. Uh-huh.
absolutely perfect.
Nice.
Yep.
That's
We should be
nice.
called the clones instead of Chromatica.
The clones. Let's change our band name to the Clones because we only use clones.
I was in a band called Clone, 1978. Yes.
Damn it.
It was a great
We
band.
can't.
It was a great band too.
Nice, nice. Thanks
Eh,
for letting me know that information.
Also, I wanted to ask if you prefer to mix or to. Let me rephrase the question. Which part of the process do you?
I like it all. You know, I love recording bands. I love recording great guitarists and great keyboard players. I love recording singers and working with singers. I like mixing. It's all music. As long as the music is exciting and fantastic and original, then it's a joy. And it's like the king's life to be working with music from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep. That's really incredible thing.
Great.
That's so
Great.
great.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think we are done right now, right? Ignacio?
Okay.
Yeah, we finished the questions. Just for the ending of the episode, just wanted to say what we said at the beginning, like thank you for joining us in this
Yeah, it was great to have you here,
podcast.
man.
Thank you very much. And thanks for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, we've learned a lot of what you said to us about art, about music. So thank you. Really, 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 we really appreciate
Cool.
your time, you giving us your time today.
All
So
right. Good luck with
thank
everything.
you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, man.
man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop the recording now. So
Okay.